Welcome to this explainer. Right, let's jump straight into it. Today, we're diving into a high-stakes, absolutely relentless battle between the forces of nature and human engineering. We build structures to last, but nature? Well, nature has a very different plan, and it's fighting us at a microscopic level every single day. Hundreds of billions of dollars. That staggering number is the annual cost to the global economy, all caused by a silent, stealthy villain constantly trying to take down our infrastructure. It's not some dramatic explosion or a sudden earthquake. No, it's a slow, quiet deterioration that literally eats away at the foundation of our modern world, demanding massive amounts of time, energy, and money to manage. So here's our battle plan for today's explainer to tackle this complex topic. We'll uncover what this billion-dollar threat is, look at the electrochemical engine behind it, explore its stealthy forms of attack, and finally, look at the genius engineering used to build the ultimate defense. Okay, part one, the billion-dollar threat and nature's relentless attack. We're talking, of course, about corrosion. Simply put, it's the gradual destruction of a material, usually a metal, through a chemical or electrochemical reaction with its environment. You see, left unprotected, most metals just kind of want to react with their surroundings. They want to return to a more natural, stable state. It's a really familiar process, right? You've probably seen it on an old bicycle chain or the undercarriage of a car. That's the rusting of iron, which is just a specific reaction between iron, oxygen, and moisture to produce iron oxide. Moving on to part two, the electrochemical engine, or the biology of our villain, if you will. To defeat an enemy, you really have to understand how it operates on a microscopic level. And fundamentally, corrosion acts exactly like a simple battery. It's an electrochemical process that involves the flow of electrons between different regions of a metal's surface. To see how this destructive circuit works, look at the anode region. This is where the actual physical metal is lost. Metal atoms give up their electrons and literally dissolve into the solution as ions. They just break apart. Then those fleeing electrons travel over to the cathode region, where they're consumed by a totally separate chemical reaction. In most real-world cases, that reaction is the reduction of oxygen dissolved in water. But here's the catch. This electrochemical circuit absolutely needs a bridge to function. It doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It requires an electrolyte to complete the circuit, like water packed with dissolved ions. And honestly, this specific requirement is exactly why this villain attacks so much faster in wet or humid environments. Moisture basically acts like a superhighway for those ions to move, kicking that battery effect into high gear and speeding up the destruction. Now, things get even more complicated when we start mixing different materials. When you connect two dissimilar metals directly in that electrolyte, you trigger something called galvanic corrosion. Basically, the more chemically active metal corrodes first, literally sacrificing itself to protect the other metal. To keep this in check, engineers track this behavior using a hierarchy called the galvanic series. It ranks metals by how likely they are to corrode when paired up. By checking this list, engineers make sure they aren't accidentally designing a system with problem materials that would basically build a destructive battery right into their structure. Part 3, stealthy forms of attack. Because, as it turns out, not all corrosion is created equal. This chemical villain doesn't just have one signature move. It has a highly diverse arsenal of attacks, ranging from totally predictable to dangerously deceptive. At the top of the threat list is uniform corrosion. It spreads pretty evenly across the exposed metal. Because it's such an even spread, it's actually highly predictable and easy to manage. But as we move down the list, the danger level really spikes. Localized attacks are incredibly stealthy. Crevice corrosion happens in tight, narrow gaps, like under a gasket or a bolt head, where stagnant electrolytes accelerate the decay. Then there's pitting, which is way more dangerous. It creates tiny, localized areas of deep attack that can eat completely through a component, all while the surface right next to it deceptively looks perfectly fine. We also have intergranular corrosion, which actually attacks along the microscopic grain boundaries of the metal, severely weakening the component from the inside out. But even more terrifying than those localized attacks is stress corrosion cracking. This is the deadly duo. It's a sudden, totally unexpected failure mode where mechanical tensile stress and a corrosive environment join forces. So the metal's being pulled or stressed mechanically, and at the exact same time, it's being attacked chemically. This combination can cause a seemingly sound structure to suddenly crack and fail with absolutely catastrophic consequences. Finally, part 4, engineering the ultimate defense and how science fights back. Thankfully, humanity isn't defenseless here. Engineers act as forensic scientists and frontline defenders, deploying a massive toolkit to keep our bridges from collapsing and our pipelines from bursting. This engineering defense protocol basically falls into a few key steps. It involves carefully choosing materials right from the start, putting up physical barriers like protective coatings, actively manipulating electrical currents with cathodic protection, throwing chemical inhibitors into systems to slow reactions down, and even controlling the surrounding environment, like pulling out contaminants or strictly managing humidity. Let's look a little closer at that very first line of defense, material selection. The easiest defense is just choosing inherently resistant materials. Take stainless steel, for example. Ever wonder what makes it actually stainless? It's chromium. The chromium forms this extremely thin, microscopic, self-healing shield of protective oxide right on the surface. If the steel gets scratched, the chromium instantly reacts with oxygen in the air to patch the hole, healing the breach before corrosion can even take hold. Another basic, yet totally brilliant tactic is using protective coatings. We're talking industrial paint or galvanizing, where the main goal is to physically block the environment from ever reaching the vulnerable metal underneath. Galvanizing is a fantastic example. It coats steel with a layer of zinc. The beauty here is that the zinc jumps in front of the bullet, corroding sacrificially to protect the underlying steel, even if the coating itself gets scratched. And that perfectly transitions into one of the cleverest active defenses we have, cathodic protection. When engineers need an active, ongoing defense, they deploy the ultimate bodyguard, the sacrificial anode. It's a highly active metal attached directly to a structure, designed to corrode preferentially. By slapping a more chemically active metal onto a structure, usually zinc or magnesium, engineers ensure the sacrificial metal heroically jumps on the chemical grenade. It gives up its own electrons so the primary structure survives. But think about massive global infrastructure for a second. Think about the giant hull of a cargo ship or miles of underground pipelines. A simple chunk of zinc just isn't going to cut it. For these massive structures, engineers scale the concept up using impressed current cathodic protection. Instead of relying on a natural reaction, they hook up an external power source. They actively drive a protective electrical current directly onto the metal, forcefully stopping the corrosive loss of electrons by totally overpowering nature's battery. Which brilliantly illustrates our core takeaway today. To quote the underlying idea, corrosion science combines electrochemistry, material selection, and practical engineering to protect the enormous investment represented by the world's metal infrastructure. By deploying all these tools, along with advanced monitoring sensors to catch problems early, engineers successfully protect hundreds of billions of dollars of our vital human investments every single day. We've seen how brilliant engineering defends steel from this relentless electrochemical engine. But honestly, it leaves us with one final fascinating question to ponder. What about the metals beyond iron and steel? How do non-ferrous metals like lightweight aluminum, highly conductive copper, and aerospace-grade titanium stand up to this stealthy chemical threat? Well, that is a whole new frontier of material science, and exactly the kind of mystery that makes exploring metallurgy so incredibly rewarding.